World's most expensive grill, man. Sauce Walker, Plug Geo, you dig?
I don't want no free. I want my money and I want to go over the top, best of the best, biggest of the biggest, make it work.
Listen, this whole situation didn't just pop out of nowhere. It started with a flashy moment that looked like pure success on the surface, but low-key had tension building underneath the whole time. Sauce Walker was out here showing off what he called the world's most expensive grill, proudly shouting his name and brand like he always does, making it clear he wasn't here for average. He wanted elite, top tier, biggest to the biggest energy only. He made it loud and clear too, saying he didn't want anything free, no handouts, nothing small. He wanted to pay real money and go over the top, upgrade everything, take it from $100,000 level straight to $1 million level like it was nothing. That wasn't just talk, that was a statement about status, about setting a bar so high in Texas that nobody could even compete or question it. But behind all that shine and confidence, there was a whole different story brewing in the background, and it all traces back to a relationship that ran deep. We're talking over 20 years deep in Houston's jewelry scene. This wasn't some quick link-up or random business deal. This was years of trust, big spending, custom pieces, and what looked like real loyalty between Sauce Walker and Johnny Dang. Johnny Dang wasn't just any jeweler either. This man came from nothing, straight out of Vietnam, landing in America with nothing but ambition and hunger to win. He started at the bottom, working in a flea market booth in Houston, grinding day and night, learning English while hustling, slowly building connections with artists who were just starting to get attention. And step by step, that grind turned into a massive $200 million empire, not overnight, but through smart moves and perfect timing. What really made Johnny stand out, though, was how he moved differently when hip-hop started blowing up. While other jewelers were stuck doing traditional pieces, playing it safe, Johnny tapped into what artists actually wanted. Bold designs, custom grills, flashy chains that screamed identity and success. He wasn't just selling jewelry, he was selling image, status, and presence. And Houston? Yeah, Houston was the perfect playground for that kind of move. This city wasn't regular at all. It gave birth to legends like DJ Screw and UGK, and the underground scene was full of artists hungry to show their progress through what they wore. Johnny placed himself right in the middle of that wave, offering custom work, flexible payments, and relationships that made artists feel like they were part of something bigger than just a transaction. Now here's where Sauce Walker comes in deeper, because he wasn't just a customer, he was basically a walking billboard for Johnny Dang's brand. Over 2 decades, Sauce spent crazy money. We're talking $500,000 chains, endless grills, pendants, bracelets, the full package. Everywhere he went, he was representing Johnny's work without even trying, showing the world what that brand looked like in real life. And in the jewelry game, especially in hip-hop, loyalty ain't just business, it's personal. When you find someone who understands your vision and can turn your ideas into something physical, you don't just switch up on them easily. You stick, you build, you grow together like family. That's exactly what people thought this relationship was. Solid, untouchable, locked in for life. But here's the twist. Sometimes the closest connections are the ones that break the hardest when pressure hits. Because at some point, Sauce started questioning things, the prices, the value, the quality of what he was getting. And once those doubts crept in, everything started shifting in a way nobody outside could see at first. And that's when this whole situation started turning from loyalty into something way more complicated.
World's most expensive grill, man. Sauce Walker, Plug Geo, you dig?
I'm gonna take out the Johnny Dangs and put in the Geos. I'm sorry. I'm taking out these and I'm upgrading to these. You know what I'm saying? We went from 100,000 to 1 million. You know what I'm saying? Cause we had to edit, we setting the bar standard in the state of Texas so high that it cannot be beaten. Welcome to Texas.
Now this is where things start getting messy for real, because while Sauce was out here spending crazy money and basically helping build Johnny Dang's name in Houston, not everybody was getting treated the same behind the scenes. See, artists coming from outside the city, the big names, the ones with major attention, they were allegedly getting perks like loyal clients like Sauce never saw. We're talking free pieces, discounted deals, early access to new designs, the whole VIP treatment. Meanwhile, Sauce, who had been locked in for years, was paying full price every single time like nothing changed. And in this game, perception is everything. Once people start noticing differences like that, questions start popping up fast. Because let's be real, when rappers see other artists rocking certain chains or grills, it influences where they spend their money next. So from a business point of view, Johnny hooking up high-profile artists for promo made sense. Give them deals, let them post it, and boom, more attention. But from Sauce's perspective, that can start feeling like, hold up, I've been loyal all this time and I'm not getting that same energy? And that's where the cracks quietly start forming. But it didn't stop there, because now the conversation started going way deeper and way more serious. There were talks, industry whispers, people saying that Johnny Dang might have been charging top-tier prices while allegedly using CVD diamonds, lab-created stones, and presenting them like they were natural diamonds. Now that right there, that's a whole different level of accusation. Because the difference ain't small. Natural diamonds take millions of years to form underground, while CVD diamonds can be made in just weeks in a lab. They might look the same to the eye, sure, but their value? Completely different story. You got people spending $50,000, $100,000 thinking they're getting top-tier natural stones. But if those claims are true, the actual cost of those lab diamonds could be way lower. To put it into perspective, a natural 2-carat diamond might hit around $20,000, while a lab version of the same size could be sitting at $3,000 to $5,000. That gap right there, that's not small money, that's a whole different league. So if people start questioning what they really got, yeah, things can spiral real quick. And then boom, everything hits a breaking point. Sauce Walker steps out and reveals what he calls the world's first permanent $1 million grill, made by a completely different jeweler, Jose G. And this wasn't just a regular flex, this was next-level, statement-type energy. We're talking a grill loaded with 1-carat and 3-carat diamonds set in rose gold, each tooth estimated between $20,000 and $50,000, adding up to over 50 carats total. This wasn't jewelry anymore. This was like wearable status on a whole different planet. And when Sauce showed it off, he didn't hold back at all. He straight up said, I'm gonna take out Johnny Dangs and put in the Geos. I'm sorry, I'm taking out these and upgrading to these. We went from 100,000 to 1 million. That wasn't just a flex, that was a direct comparison, live on camera, calling one jeweler an upgrade over the other. That moment right there, yeah, that hit different. Because now it wasn't just private tension anymore. It was public, loud, and impossible to ignore. A 20-year relationship getting put on blast like that, that's not something you just brush off. And the timing made it even worse, because Johnny Dang was already dealing with growing questions about his business, and now one of his most loyal clients was basically saying his work wasn't top tier anymore. That's a heavy hit to reputation in a game where image is everything. But here's where it gets even crazier. Jose G, the jeweler behind that $1 million grill, wasn't just some random competitor. Reports say he actually used to work with Johnny Dang and stopped around April 2021. Now hold up, that changes everything. Because now it's not just business, it starts feeling personal. You got someone who used to be inside the operation, who knows how everything works, stepping out and becoming direct competition, and then landing a $1 million project from one of Johnny's biggest clients. That's a different type of pressure. From Johnny's side, it's like this ain't just Sauce choosing another jeweler. This is Sauce choosing someone who already knows the game from the inside. That's a whole different kind of move. And it doesn't stop there either, because Plug Geo had already been posting Johnny Who all over social media, throwing subtle shots for months. There were even claims he was making similar designs for lower prices, which only added more tension to the situation. And when you look at it from a business perspective, that former employee turning competitor angle hits way harder than normal competition, because now it feels like knowledge, connections, and experience from inside the brand are being used against it. On top of all that, there were also public statements from Geo himself saying he wasn't properly paid even after generating millions. One claim even mentioned over $9 million in a single year tied to his work. And if that's true, that adds a whole new layer to this situation.
Johnny wouldn't have did nothing better than what I got in my mind, which I don't understand. Johnny wanted to put some smart in my mind. I don't want no free. He wanted to give me some free that was way smaller than this. I don't want no free. I want my money and I want to go over the top, best of the best, biggest of the biggest, make it work.
Now this is where everything really starts boiling over, because Gio didn't just stay quiet and move on. Nah, he came out and started making some heavy claims that hit straight at Johnny Dang's business. He was basically saying the same thing people had been whispering for a minute. The CVD diamonds, the lab-made ones, were being used instead of natural diamonds in certain pieces. But here's why his voice hit different. Gio wasn't some outsider talking crazy. This was someone who had real inside access, someone who had seen how things worked day to day, from suppliers to pricing setups. So when he speaks, people don't just scroll past, they listen. Because now it's not just rumors floating around, it's someone who allegedly knows the back end of the operation saying, yo, something ain't adding up here. And that kind of talk, that shakes trust fast, especially in a game where people are dropping tens of thousands without blinking. Right after Sauce dropped that $1 million grill and basically shook the table, Johnny Dang fired back with a 4-part video, and you could feel it. This wasn't just business for him, this was personal too. His tone wasn't calm or calculated. It had emotion in it, like someone who felt disrespected, hit from all angles at once. He even explained that before all this went public, he had already reached out to Sauce Walka trying to fix things behind closed doors. He wanted to meet up, talk it out, maybe even work on a new grill together or find some business move they could both win from. That right there shows he knew things weren't perfect and was trying to handle it low-key before it turned into a whole public situation. But once it went public, yeah, the tone changed. Johnny made it clear, saying, it's all good, you can shop around the world. You know, you don't need to put my name in there. But if you mention my name, put some respect on my name. If not, keep the F my name out your mouth. That wasn't just a response, that was a warning, straight up. At the same time, Sauce Walka wasn't holding back either. He came through explaining his side with raw honesty, and you could tell this had been building up for a while. He basically said Johnny couldn't match the vision he had in his head, like no matter what, it wasn't gonna hit the level he was aiming for. He kept repeating it, I don't want no free, I want my money and I want to go over the top, best to the best, biggest to the biggest, make it work. That line right there explains everything about his mentality. This wasn't about saving money, it was about dominance, about creating something untouchable. It even got to a point where he straight up said he didn't care if people thought it wouldn't fit or didn't make sense. His mindset was make it fit anyway. And that's exactly why he went to Gio, because from his point of view, Gio was the one who actually made his vision happen without limits. But underneath all that, there was something deeper, something that really made people start looking at the situation differently. Sauce felt like Johnny was treating out-of-town artists and celebrities better, giving them free pieces, promo deals, extra attention, while he, a loyal Houston client for over 20 years, was just getting standard treatment. And that hits different when you've been spending serious money for years, because now it starts feeling like I helped build this and now I'm just another customer. That kind of feeling, yeah, that's where relationships start breaking for real. There were even reports going around saying Sauce had asked for complimentary pieces before and got turned down, while other artists were allegedly getting promo jewelry handed to him. That contrast right there, that's what really had people side-eyeing the whole situation. And Gio didn't stop at just one claim either. He suggested this kind of approach might not have been a one-time thing, but something that could involve multiple high-profile clients. Now these are still allegations, nothing confirmed, but once that idea is out there, it spreads fast. Because think about it for a second. If someone is paying $100,000 thinking they're getting top-tier natural diamonds, but the actual material costs way less because of lab-created stones, that gap is huge. And if that happens across multiple pieces over time, we're talking about a massive difference in value. That's exactly why certification matters so much in this game. Natural diamonds usually come with reports from places like GIA confirming what they are and where they came from, and lab diamonds are supposed to be clearly labeled too. Without that clarity, things get real blurry real fast. And once all this started coming out, yeah, it wasn't quiet anymore. What started as low-key industry talk turned into a full-blown public situation. Fans, insiders, other artists, everybody jumped in with opinions, theories, breakdowns. Social media turned into a straight battlefield. Clips everywhere, reactions, people analyzing old videos, past purchases, even body language like detectives trying to piece everything together. Everybody wanted to know what really happened behind the scenes. Now this is where the whole situation really sits heavy, because at the center of everything, one big question kept echoing louder and louder. Was this just a misunderstanding that got out of control, or was there something deeper going on behind the scenes the whole time? And that question right there, that's what kept the conversation alive, spreading everywhere, getting people locked in and debating nonstop. Because both sides weren't backing down at all. They stood firm, 10 toes down on their version of the story. On one side, Johnny Dang was focused on defending his name, his legacy, and all the years he put into building his empire from nothing. He made it clear that everything he achieved came from hard work, consistency, and staying dedicated to the craft no matter what. On the other side, Sauce Walka stayed loud about his experience, making it clear this wasn't random, this was personal. He kept bringing up his vision, the money he spent, and why he felt like he had to move differently to get what he really wanted. But zoom out for a second, because this ain't just about two people anymore. Situations like this start exposing how the whole custom jewelry world really works, where image, trust, pricing, and relationships all crash into each other at the same time. Because all it takes is one small shift, one mismatch in expectations, and suddenly something that looked solid for years starts breaking apart fast. And when that happens in public, yeah, it turns into a whole storm. Now here's the part that really had people stopping and thinking, because this wasn't being framed like one bad deal or one mistake. Nah, the talk going around was suggesting this could have been a pattern, something that played a role in building that massive $200 million empire. And that's where things get serious, because when artists trust you with that kind of money, they're not just buying jewelry, they're trusting your expertise completely. Most of them aren't deep into diamond technical details. They're relying on the jeweler to guide them, keep it real, and be transparent about what they're getting. A lot of times, they don't even ask for certifications or breakdowns. They just trust the relationship. And when that trust gets questioned, that's when everything starts shaking. That's exactly why this whole situation blew up the way it did. Because if someone with a strong reputation is facing these kinds of claims, people start asking bigger questions, not just about him, but the entire luxury jewelry space connected to the music industry. People started wondering, how common is this really? Are other jewelers moving the same way? How many artists might have paid top dollar without fully understanding what they were actually getting? Those questions alone kept the fire burning. And then you got the hometown angle, and this part hits different, because Houston ain't just any city. It's tight, connected, and built on loyalty. When someone comes up in that environment, there's an unspoken rule. You support your people, you stay solid, you don't switch up on the ones who help build your name. And Johnny Dang built his whole identity as Houston's go-to jeweler, someone deeply connected to the culture and the artists. That support wasn't just about his skills, it was about trust, about being part of the circle, about representing the city. And that kind of loyalty, that runs deeper than business deals. So when Sauce Walka, someone who had been consistent for over 20 years, started feeling like he wasn't getting the same level of attention, yeah, that stood out immediately, especially with claims that out-of-town artists were getting VIP treatment while he wasn't. In a place like Houston, that kind of difference doesn't go unnoticed. People pick up on that quick. And that's why this hit harder than just money or business. It touched on loyalty, respect, and those unspoken rules everyone understands. And once those expectations feel off, once things stop feeling balanced, that's when people start asking real questions, not just about one situation, but about the bigger picture. Because now the concern wasn't just about Sauce anymore. People started wondering if this kind of treatment could have affected others too. If pricing, product details, and client treatment weren't consistent, that opens the door to a much bigger issue. Now, to be clear, these are still allegations, nothing fully proven, but the fact they even exist was enough to push the conversation deeper into the spotlight. And from Sauce Walka's perspective, this wasn't about tearing down Johnny or ignoring his success. It was about speaking on what he believed was unfair and putting attention on something he felt could affect others too. The fact he went public after 20 years, yeah, that shows how serious things had gotten behind the scenes. Eventually, both sides did meet and were able to move forward, settling things at a Houston community event and showing that personal respect was still there underneath all the noise. But even with that, the bigger conversation didn't just disappear, because at its core, this whole situation is about loyalty, respect, and fair business practices. And what happens when trust starts cracking in an industry built almost entirely on relationships? everything connected to it starts feeling the impact. There's also a deeper layer here too, power dynamics. For years, certain jewelers have held strong positions, with artists trusting them fully without always understanding the technical side of what they're buying. That kind of imbalance can let things slide. Questions don't get asked until it's too late. But when someone like Sauce Walka speaks up, someone with a strong reputation and a voice people actually listen to, it puts pressure on the whole industry. It forces conversations that were hidden behind closed doors right into the spotlight for everyone to see. And at the end of the day, no matter what side you're on, Johnny Dang's journey from coming to America with nothing to building a $200 million brand is still a powerful story of hustle, growth, and understanding the culture he was part of.
That part right there, yeah, you can't just ignore it like it's nothing. Because at the end of the day, if there really were inconsistencies in pricing or confusion around what people were actually getting, then speaking up about it becomes bigger than just one situation. It becomes something that could protect others in the same space. And that's why this whole CVD diamond conversation hit way deeper than people expected. Because this ain't just about jewelry anymore. It's about how luxury markets operate as a whole. A lot of customers, especially artists, don't have deep technical knowledge about diamonds, so they rely heavily on the jeweler to guide them, to keep it real and to explain things clearly. And when that clarity isn't there, that's when problems start creeping in. Because once trust gets questioned like this, it doesn't stay between two people. Nah, it spreads across the entire market. Everybody starts looking twice, asking more questions, and rethinking how things really work behind the scenes. And this situation really shows how the relationship between hip-hop artists and the businesses around them is evolving fast. Back then, it was all about relationships, loyalty, handshakes, and vibes. But now, artists are leveling up mentally too. They're starting to think more like businessmen. They're not just trusting blindly anymore. They want clear communication, proper documentation, breakdowns, receipts, everything that comes with high-value deals. Because when you're dropping 6 figures, even 7 figures, you're not playing around anymore. That whole era of we good, don't worry about it deals, yeah, that's slowly fading out. Now it's all about accountability, transparency, and making sure everything makes sense on paper, not just in conversation. So now the real question becomes, what happens next? Are more artists going to start asking detailed questions before they spend? Are jewelers going to have to break everything down, diamond quality, sourcing, pricing, step by step? And is the whole industry about to shift into something more structured and transparent for everybody? Because let's be honest, when we're talking about 100K, 500K, even $1 million pieces, this ain't small business anymore. Buyers expect proof, certifications, and full clarity on what they're getting. Pricing should reflect real value, not just hype, branding, or reputation. And even with all the tension, there was a moment that surprised people. Things didn't end in chaos. Footage came out showing Johnny Dang and Sauce Walka meeting up in Houston and actually settling things face to face. And that moment, that showed something important. Because no matter how messy things get publicly, real conversations in person can still fix what looks broken. That H-Town connection, that real-life respect, still had power. It also shows how strong community ties can smooth things over, even when business gets heated. But let's not lie to ourselves. The bigger conversation they started, that's far from over. Now the spotlight shifts to you. Because this situation raises real questions. Was Sauce Walka right to speak out publicly about his experience, or should this have stayed private behind closed doors? And what about loyalty? Should longtime clients get extra perks and treatment after years of spending, or should business always stay strictly business no matter what? Then there's the CVD debate. Some people see it as smart business if it's clearly explained, but others feel like it crosses a line if details aren't fully transparent. And in luxury markets, that line between acceptable and questionable can get real thin, real fast. One thing is clear though, people are paying way more attention now. Once situations like this go public, everything gets reevaluated. Trust becomes the center of everything, and once it cracks, people start questioning everything connected to it. At the same time, this whole situation is a reminder, you gotta know what you're investing in. Loyalty is cool, relationships matter, but they don't replace understanding the details of a deal. The culture is evolving fast. Artists are getting sharper, asking more questions, protecting their money, their image, and their long-term future. And that shift is happening in real time. Johnny Dang built a huge name over the years, no doubt about that. But this moment shows something important. Even the biggest brands have to stay sharp because everything depends on trust staying solid. And here's the final layer that really brings everything together. This situation didn't just make headlines, it changed how people look at the entire hip-hop jewelry space. Because once conversations like this go public, there's no going back. Now artists are watching closer than ever, asking questions, double-checking everything, making sure they fully understand what they're putting their money into. At the same time, jewelers are feeling that pressure too. Expectations are higher now. Clear communication, proper documentation, full transparency. These aren't extras anymore. They're becoming the standard. And anyone not keeping up, they're gonna stand out fast and not in a good way. That's what makes this moment bigger than just one situation. It's a wake-up call for the whole industry. When trust gets tested publicly like this, it forces growth, accountability, and a shift in how business is handled moving forward. And don't get it twisted, relationships still matter heavy in this space. Deals aren't just transactions, they're built on reputation, respect, and long-term connections. But now, that loyalty has to be backed by clarity, not just history. The fact that these two Houston figures were able to sit down, talk it out, and move forward shows that even serious situations can be handled with respect when both sides step up. But the impact of this whole situation, that's gonna stick around for a long time, shaping how business is done in the jewelry world moving forward. Because at this level, transparency isn't optional anymore, it's a must. Without it, questions will always come up, especially when serious money is involved. So now it's on you. What do you think? Was Sauce right to speak out publicly, or should he have kept it behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts below. Let's really talk about it. And if you made it this far, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. This story opened the door, and trust me, we're just getting started.